What's up, y'all? It's super fragrant in here right now. I've got my wisps going and my other fascinating smells and repellents and etc. happening at this moment. So with that being the case, I think it's a great opportunity to get into this next part, which is corporate battle training number 3. And I just want to be clear, like the reason and purposes behind me doing these videos is both because I have a lot of stories in my life that I haven't been able to tell, and I think it would be like entertaining, but also it's great to have, just people have more understanding about me and the reasons why I do what I do or don't do what I don't do. The Court Project is something I started a few years ago, and it is based off the concept of court of a lord, like a lord's courts. So, the infallible starship is the starship, which is Welshrighz, being infallible and it being attached to a court. As you guys may know me or may not know me, you'll be able to see more creatively where this is and what this is and how it all connects to each other. I think it's beautiful that it's a part of the mystery of who is me and also what the F have I been doing for the last decade. The good news is I feel like people will really appreciate what it is, and also it's useful for so many different people. It's useful for young people, it's useful for old people, it's useful for professionals, it's useful for, I try to speak on things that are based on the truth. And by me speaking on things based on the truth, literally the truth, not the he said, she said, and the truth, but just the truth of the scenarios, and it just usually happens to be interesting because of the details, but the truth always is helpful for whoever hears it, at least in my opinion. I thoroughly feel like lies come out, literally, just like that sound, like they just fall out, like eventually there's only so many steps a lie can go before it collides with the next error. Anywho. So corporate battlefield number 3 is based off of something that I have to be careful about how I say it, just because of some of the stuff, and by stuff I mean NDAs. But essentially, for the last year of my life, it has been very both up and down. It's been extreme, and you could say that life is supposed to be in extremes. It's supposed to be a roller coaster. Well, guess what? Give me something smooth, and then I'll make it a roller coaster if I want it to be like that. I've been working on a lot of avenues for a good decade now, and so that clearly adds to a portfolio that is very viewable to people who have interest in the types of things and spaces that I work in. And so, being a professional, but also, working is subjective to the person doing such a thing. And I've been actively for the last 2 years separating myself from the concept of the 9 to 5, and it being the main thing that I utilize to gain funds. It started with a training from a man named Horace, and essentially, different books and stuff like that. Then it became another additional training which has been going on for about a year, from other people, and in addition to, of course, people that people know the names of that I can't speak about for various reasons. Mostly having to do with haters, but I'm not going to get into the rest of that thought at all. So, long story short, I came upon a situation that was actually pretty sudden, just because I didn't expect it in its presentation. And yes, to some degree, I expected to, I'm in LA, so I expected to, connect with people at some point. It's not like you just go to LA or go to New York or whatever and don't think about, running into someone that other people know. Like, it's just something that's gonna happen. And I'm from Atlanta, so I've actually run into like 3 or 4 people out in Atlanta. So this is like hometown for half the population of the actors. It was more like a creeping fashion, which was different because, I've been on the... Okay, so when I became transient, which happened after I stopped being a live-in caretaker, which ended for COVID reasons, I became officially transient, which was good for me because I was able to not have to worry about accumulating too many things, and also I was able to move around as I felt was safe for me or good for me to be away from certain influences. And in addition to, of course, networking, mad networking happens when you're transient. So I was doing that for a good while, and it came to a point where it's like, okay, well, I want my lifestyle to change. Like, I want my was 9 to 5 aspect to become an artist. Like, I am an artist, and I want to know more about what that means, professionally. I have all this knowledge and I have schooling under my belt and all this other stuff. So I've been in this state for like the last 2 years of, fine tuning exactly how I want to use my intellect and my experience and, everything that I've been accumulating over the last decade. Now, I'm in a state where I met this person, and they basically told me that I could stay with them for an extended amount of time. And, of course, I was going to try my best to pay them, which, as you can see, things have been going the way that I expected. So, that would have been a very real scenario for that circumstance. But they offered it for free, which was great. Well, it wasn't really for free. It was for free, but it was more for, like, I was working for them in different capacities. I'm also, like I said, I have a ton of skills, so I was doing different types of work. The main things that I learned from this scenario, which I'm about to talk about a little bit more, is contracts, the types of contracts, the specifics of contracts, and the hard knocks of what certain professions are really like. So I have been around a fair amount of famous people, even on a relatively close scale, but that never really prepared me for the work aspect of being around people who are motivated to make money from art or from some type of business thing. Like, business and art, they're the same thing at a certain level. Like, once you change around a few things, like, they become the same thing. But also, when they become the same thing, that's when the quality of the art is supposed to be different. Like, it's not like art for art's sake anymore. It's art for money, or it's art for production, or it's art for something else, whatever. So basically, they suddenly, like, there was an internal issue, and they didn't know who to trust, I suppose. And, I had already signed a contract stating that I wasn't going to talk about like the specifics of what happened, but also I didn't get to sign the contract of what deal that they were trying to make with me. They never presented me with one officially. So I was a month and a half in, already doing my thing, creating my stuff or whatever, and they changed their mind on the flip, just like that. And that, in addition to some of the stuff that had happened before that, caused me to have a severe outcome. It was a very severe outcome, to the point where I was literally at one point sleeping on the ground outside in a field. And, I don't know if you've ever slept outside before. Having a roof over your head is a significant thing. Sleeping outside is a whole other thing. And, it's just kind of like what type of human does that? What type of human does that? So in all, I don't know like the entire reason why they felt like they should go to that extreme or that far, to not care, because it truly comes down to them just not caring. At least that's what it appeared to be. It prepared me, in addition to another contract situation, but I'm not going to talk about that one because I'm already talking about this one. Essentially, I had a place to be and they were going to sponsor my business. As you can see, and as I said before, that's not what happened. Just like in the first video I did about, learning about contracts and the things that people can do around them, it hasn't been, that part was not fun for me. Learning that humans have the capability to be that separated from their actions, or at least separated from the extremity that their actions can cause. And the worst part was, it led to, a scenario where I was hurt. Like it was just like another gram of trauma. And I am over being traumatized in my life right now. Like I am, 30 this year in a few days. And as a 30-year-old, I don't want to be the person who is having to depend on anyone else to make sure that my life is happening properly. And by anyone else, I very much so mean like someone that I'm in a relationship with, or someone who is, I don't want to do that. Like I did go through the hard way of having to get myself out of all of the degrees of fucked upness that interaction caused. So, different people have called, the scenario different things, and I'm still, I'm not hurt by this anymore, but I'm very thoughtful about it. I've already processed it mentally or emotionally, and I know that, trusting people in this state of being is a very, very dicey thing to do. It's a very dicey thing to do, but because I have been building my own scenario for years with my own people that know where I came from and can see where I'm going, that is the biggest key for me in terms of both the truth of everything, like the truth, being known, and also, having a relative cushion between myself and, the outside world, like a layer of people that know me well enough to know who I am and how I operate, but also don't know me too deeply as to where I would be with, you know, somebody that I really want to be in some type of relationship with, but then also they, you know, they're not as foreign or as scary or as like a completely random person who I don't know and whose intentions I don't know. So I mean, like, even if it's someone middle to you, close to you, or far from you, you know, you may need to utilize a form of corporate training, you know, or corporate understanding and protection of yourself, because those things that are of you and that are you are a piece of you to an extent. You have some type of attachment to them. You don't have to. That would be you being a Buddhist or me being a Buddhist, you know, but I've given away a lot. I've given away a lot. I've given up a lot. I've let go of a lot of things. I try to keep a relative distance between I and the things that I own. But aside from that, you know, and because of that, probably I am just growing. I'm growing and gaining and hopefully positively influencing, you know, everyone that I meet, which in my opinion, it happens positively anyway, just because even if it's like negative, it still has a positive effect, both because I have the intention of my interactions to be positive, but also because that person is in the same creation that I am, the same overall and large creation, not necessarily the institutions, which are also creations, but you know, with respect, but they are also creations, and they're smaller ones. They are smaller and separate from the big, large creation that is created for us all to be in and manage in our own ways. Merlin, cough. So yeah, that's it. Like, for this mini series, I'm obviously a work in progress, so I'm not going to stump myself in terms of like the things that I say. I am doing my best to keep people's, like, I don't want to target people, but I do want to make it clear the reasons why I do and don't do certain things, as well as the understanding that I'm not in a space to where I take the same types of abuses that I did as a child or as a young person. Even like, if you met me before I hit the age of 25, then you probably know a different person. And what I mean by that is I don't put up with the same type of abuse. I don't allow for people to abuse me. I don't allow for my space to be abused. I don't allow for my heart to be abused. I don't allow for my image, my words to be abused. Like, I don't allow for any of those things. And now that I'm in a space to where I am spiritual, I am designing, and I am fermenting. And literally though, because if you follow my other pages, you know exactly what I mean by fermenting. So yeah, with all that said, that is all that this video is going to be about. This is number 3. I will be doing some lives soon, as well as other topics and videos that I want to do that I feel like need to be infallible. Things that I feel like need to be put into some type of thought process and understood and used in an appropriate fashion to the most beautiful mind out there. All the beautiful minds and wombs and things out there that, you know, could need blah blah blah. Okay, bye.